for that type of global career? Or would someone have, as I heard PLO suggest yesterday, perhaps these individuals are great because of other investments they have made as part of their personal career choices, not because they went to one of our law schools. There is another one I would suggest in the spirit of gender balance, the late Dr. Androniko Adogi Adede. I would encourage you to also search his CV and the things he had done and ask ourselves, do we have a law school in Kenya and in Africa, with the possible exception of South Africa, that can produce lawyers who can excel at the global stage like that? I am happy Christine Agimba is here because she said, we don't seem to prepare lawyers for public service, and I'm here to agree with that, but also add, there is no sphere of legal practice because of the structural issues I've come to speak to. We properly prepare lawyers today, not even that private practice. And I want us to ask ourselves, the United Nations are 17 specialized agencies and the Central Secretariat, all of which have very many lawyers of various nationalities working there. Do the lawyers we train, can they thrive in those spaces? The GATT WTO system is a rich area of practice, again, dominated by lawyers from Brussels, from London, from New York and Singapore. Do we train lawyers who can thrive in those spaces? Christine Agimba will not tell you loudly, but if you sit with her in a corner, she will tell you, government of Kenya outsources lawyers from London, from New York, not to do something we do with Ongoya, the constitutional division, where you have to struggle to tax your fees, but a case Ongoya, to do with, foreign trade, imports, exports, foreign direct investments, which a lawyer only needs to do one brief, Sianya, and retire. You do that brief. You don't have to do another brief in your life if what you're looking for is bread and butter. You do that one brief. And the government of Kenya, I told you, if you talk quietly off the record with Christine, she will tell you every day, including today, I'm aware of arbitrations involving government of Kenya as I stand here, going on in London, going on in Singapore, going on in Paris and other places, led by British and American lawyers, paid fees that are more than all the combined fees the lawyers we envy here earn. Christians, you got nimesema uongo, but I won't ask you on the... So, for me, these are the structural issues. One of them is this magic called Kenya School of Law. Kenson and I had envisioned Kenya School of Law like one giant sieve, the one we used to filter tea. And from this sieve, we feed tea from our about 20 law schools, because the assumption is that the law schools are doing a bad job. Anna Komnuchi, I'm here to ask, what is this magic the Kenya School of Law has, that it is able to take students from KU, from Quer, from UN, from Strathmore, I could go on, presumptively because these guys can do a good job. They don't have the student-lecturer ratio, they don't have the libraries, they don't have all these things. But somehow KSL has the magic. It is capable, one institution, to absorb all these guys and take care of their training shortcomings. Does Kenya School of Law have a student-lecturer ratio that is equal to the combined student-lecturer ratio of all the law schools? Does Kenya School of Law have a library capacity that is equal to the combined library capacity? Does it have faculty that is equal to, or I don't know, that is one of them. I could go on and on and on and on. The other structural problem is our legal system speaks only to a very tiny majority of the Kenyan population. Most legal issues, whether they are transactions, whether they are deals, whatever you call them, whether they are disputes, take place outside of formal law. Most disputes are resolved by elders, by relatives, by chiefs. Many at the police station, they don't reach the court. Many deals are sealed even using traditional oaths. There is a joke on Goy in Meru that if you want a man to speak truthfully on oath in Meru, you take them to the Jurincheke. They can't lie on oath when they have taken the oath before the Jurincheke, but if you bring them before the Supreme Court of Kenya, they are happy to take whatever oath. And they'll be looking at you straight in the eye and saying lies. We have a curriculum that was meant for glorified home guards. You know, the so-called core subjects. I've heard that phrase even mentioned here. Can those core subjects, we have even codified them in law, produce a Phoebe Okowa? Can they produce a Dr. Adroniko Adede? Can they produce lawyers who drive in all these pieces? Or is it a curriculum that was designed under the Lord Denning report, envisioning, Kenya and Africa as just outposts of the then dying colonial or the British Empire, playing second fiddle on the margins to lawyers in London as the main players? That curriculum can only train Jogoo wa Shamba. They say Jogoo wa Shamba wiki mjini. So we have this global market, and how I've envisioned it, Christine Agimba, I hope you love this, is that the global legal market is a big ocean, like the Pacific, like the Indian Ocean. And in that ocean, of course, we know it has very many resources of various types that we fish there. But the lawyer we train is not equipped to fish or to exploit the marine resources in that huge water body called the Indian Ocean or the Pacific Ocean. They are trained to drive in a small pool, a small pod, a fish pod. And for, of course, those who practice law of the sea, that metaphor is accurate even in the literal sense. You have Japanese vessels shipping on Kenyan territorial waters, Chinese vessels fishing on Kenyan territorial waters, and our fishermen are some small boats, wood-paddled boats. So to me, the structural problem, Mr. Ongoya, the world is a global village. We produce lawyers for our local village called Milimani High Court, called Nyeri Law Courts, called Kisumu Law Courts. It is Mr. Nelson Avi who says, if you go hunting, and then there is an elephant and you're focusing on a squirrel or a rat, there is an antelope. You've gone hunting. We train lawyers to hunt in a market for legal services. We have the whole world there, but we train them for a small fishing pod of 10 by 10, when the UK, the Americans, and the other serious players, of late even the Chinese, are training their lawyers to fish in the big oceans. Those big oceans, I said, they are WTO, UN, ICSID, ICC, ICJ, EACJ, COMESA. I could go on and on and on and on. Somebody has mentioned virtual training, online training. My experience as a lecturer at the University of Nairobi has been worse. My student has logged in class, so the screen shows me student called Muthomi Dienkolu is logged into class. Only for me, Professor Mwimeli, when I call out that student who is logged in, and when it turns out they are making ugali in their kitchen. And sometimes they are making other things that I don't know whether will be in order. We administer online exams. with zero safeguards. So I have no way of knowing whether it is the candidate doing the exam, whether they are using the World Wide Web or these days AI to generate the answers, and whether they attended class, we also can't know because of the other thing. Then we have taken it to online court training. I now have a generation, Jack Muimali, I swear I'm not making this up, of young men, young women who have just joined the profession. They attended class virtually. They sat exams virtually. Now they practice law virtually. This guy has never met Professor Sianye in the real world, in a physical. He has never met a real lecturer, never met a real advisor in court, never met a real judge. And what has been happening is, I thought on Goya, when we go before those sessions, you and I go to speak, for me, Kim English, for you, Louis English, there is a lot that shapes us based on actual, real interactions with real human beings. And I don't know, when I've checked other countries, there are safeguards for doing online exams. We have none here, but we pretend we are doing online exams. The more serious countries have safeguards for online teaching. Here we have none. It is online teaching. These days I've seen even lawyers on Goya, you know, my lord, my camera is this, and they just switched it off to coach the witness. I've seen witnesses with headphones and whatever. Somebody is whispering to them the answers, but of course the device they're speaking to is the different one. What I called in my post, Jack Muimali, what happens between muted microphones. That's one of the structural issues. I don't know how we address it. In the universities, why I asked whether there are deans here today. I think Ongoya wanted me to speak last because I'm the guy who speaks badly. But it's okay. The law school of today in Kenya is the cash cow for the other schools of the university. Ben Sianye is here. If he's a man of the truth, he knows what I'm saying is true. That is why I had Avi ask you yesterday, why is there no similar exponential growth in the number of engineers, in the number of doctors, in the number of architects, but we have this implosion of law students and law graduates? It is because the typical Kenyan university, where I asked whether there are vice chancellors here, with decreased government funding, with the hard economic times, the law school, because it is cheaper to train a law student than it is to train an engineering student, than it is to train. So what they do, because law has some social prestige, is open law schools everywhere, so that they will collect money to subsidize how to run the engineering school, how to run the architectural school, how to run the business school, but that money is not invested in improving the quality of education in the law schools. Parklands, why I have taught. You know, sometimes we joke too much on Goya. You know, Parklands Law Campus, where I've taught for 13 years, is the school of law. It is the oldest. It is housed in premises that could not pass a human's occupational and safety audit. Yeah, that school has generated most revenue to the University of Nairobi. I can say that without any fear of contradiction. In the last 20 years. It is still, if you go to the hostels, they were last repainted, I swear I'm not making this, in the 1980s or 1970s. If you go to the student bathrooms, they have years old limescale and grime. If you go there, going to shower there is an health hazard in that bathroom. I have seen podiums there like this one, Nongoya, the lecturer's podium. It is broken and it is supported by a piece of wood. So if it slips, the whole thing and my laptop, everything falls all over. I've seen staff toilets stinking. Not forget the student ones. The staff ones stinking and leaking. And when you do the math, this law school, because of the ever-expanding programs, has collected billions, not millions, for the university in the last several years. How did we get there? To me, that's one of the structural issues. When Kenson and I were thinking about this, there is a joke in Spain, Ongoya, where they say, the Republic of Spain is like a cow with its mouth in Catalonia and its udder in Madrid. So this cow feeds the pastures in Catalonia, but the milk goes to Madrid. And I dare say that today's Kenyan law school has its mouth, today's university has its mouth in the law school, and its udder in the other schools. The law school is the one subsidizing monetization of degree programs. Because of a silly policy we had, and Christine, I'm happy you're here. I see Ongoya telling me I've said enough bad things. Is that so? So that I can just take my seat? In this country, we love degrees and titles. So we will be promoted if you have an LLM, you'll be promoted if you have a PhD, you'll be promoted if you have a higher degree, higher diploma, and whatnot. So we have students enrolling. We interpret this market flaw. In economics, they call it a market imperfection. We interpret it to be demand for legal education and training. Whereas the student has only come so that they will, once they get the degree, get a promotion at work. As a result, our completion rates, especially for postgraduate studies, I dare to be contradicted. Professor Sianya is here. They are less than 1%. A master's program should last a year. I have seen at the University of Nairobi and other places, people who have been on the LLM program for close to 20 years. They never complete. The last, Ongoya, because you said I've spoken very many bad things, is the quality of students. I was showing Christine Agimba. And Professor Sianyas there is my witness. How many times we have an essay, a project paper, a dissertation, a thesis written by a student and signed off by a professor of law, in which the candidate has hundreds of spelling mistakes, where there is no subject-verb agreement. Things we were taught in Standard 4 Ongoya through a book called English Aid. Standard 4, 4th grade. Where they are missing full stops, not one or two, but several of them. Where they are missing commas, where there is use of informal language. This is not an undergraduate student we are talking about, Ongoya, but a student who has passed the third part of the master's or the PhD. And there is a professor that assigned that I have read this project and I certify it meets the minimum requirements. Just last week, Ongoya allowed me to add by reading an email I sent just last week to the University of Nairobi when I was asked to examine an LLM. This email was sent on the 13th of November, 2025, and it says, the reader, that is me, made a genuine effort to review the manuscript and the reference, but was unable to do so. After genuine effort, as indicated in the attached version with track changes, the manuscript contains numerous grammatical, spelling, and formatting errors including missing full stops and other punctuation inconsistencies, spelling mistakes, irregular spacing between words and paragraphs, inconsistent line and paragraph alignment. It appears the candidate did not conduct even a basic spell check before submission. In addition, the manuscript does not adhere to a scholar or any other recognized referencing or citation style. The above deficiencies significantly disrupted the reading experience and the logical flow of the argument, making it impossible, underline impossible, Jack Muimali, for the reader to engage meaningfully with the candidate's ideas. The reader therefore concluded that the manuscript is not ready for examination. This is a candidate who was an LLB, who was taught legal research and writing, who was taught referencing, who was taught all these things, and they passed. And they did not only pass, but they passed so well that they were eligible for the LLM. And this LLM now we are marking with these issues. Sianya, please confirm how many times I have sent similar emails. You agree it's countless times, true or false? You know, you and I have discussed these problems. That is the quality of student that comes to our law schools these days because there is a demand for legal education and training. God be with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Muthomi Thiankolu. I was seated here and I was wondering why I didn't have the powers of the Speaker of the National Assembly, because what he does is the microphone is normally switched off. Then you can continue talking if you want, but the microphone is off. So that's a struggle I had as I sat here. But the plenary, you've had your panelists. Since our time is far much spent, I would want just to pick 2 questions from plenary. So from the plenary, so that we have our panelists respond to them. I can see one hand up there and another hand there. I want to stop at those 2 hands. No, there's a 3rd hand. I'll pick that 3rd one. So there's a hand. My eyes are very bad. There's a gentleman. Yes, that's Professor Mwara, most likely. Then there's a hand here. Yes, that's this one of yours. Next, sitting on Professor Zihanya's table. Then there's a hand there. Just those 3 hands. We'll take all the questions together. Then I'll have my panelists respond. If you can specifically point out to the panelists you want to respond, I will highly appreciate. But if you don't, I'll do the best I can with your question.
Thank you very much for the wonderful submissions. Dr. Thiankolu, I am bringing a discussion we had online here. And I am asked 2 questions. One, how much have you done other than write the emails to try to change things? I have this theory where I'm saying if I am in a place, I have to be fully there. And that means if I can't make any changes, then I should leave. What have you done internally other than write the email? And then the last thing, of course, is, are we not sometimes forgetting where we have all come from, especially when you don't engage the ideas because you think the English is too peripheral or pedestrian? Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Amara. The second question was on this table, yes?
Yeah, thank you. I want to appreciate the presenters. They have done wonderful work. My question goes to Dr. Muthomi. You have indicated that the quality of the students we have is disappointing, and really that is, I think, one of the main structural problems. But I also want to add that even some of the lecturers we have, especially the former JNCs, they almost belong to the same group with those poor quality of students. The question is, how can we improve the quality of the students we admit to law schools? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daktari, for that. Dr. Muthomi, you brought yourself problems. You'll have very many questions to answer. There's somebody. That's Dr. Mbori?
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
Dr. Harrison Mbori is my name. Unfortunately for Dr. Thiankolu, my question is to him. It's just because he was very provocative, which is always good because then you have many questions. So mine is about the quality of lecturers, and I'm a lecturer, so I'm throwing stones here intentionally. And this hasn't been spoken about at all. We haven't asked ourselves, what are the quality of our lecturers? I know now we also have lecturers who are teaching in multiple universities, and they are going from one university to the next. I know lecturers who are senior lecturers, and I've tried to check their profiles. The last time they wrote anything that is publishable is in the 90s. And I then ask myself whether this is a matter that we ourselves also as lecturers have to ask ourselves, whether we are then, how can you know, the computer analogy used to tell us when I was a student, garbage in, garbage out. Thanks.
Thank you. I'll have CLE ask some question because CLE is here and is our regulator.
All right, thank you very much. Just a quick one, and it's following up on the ones that have already been asked. My dean, when I was in Moi University, my dean, Dr. Lugulu, used to say that there are only two species that eat its young ones, the pigs and the lawyers. Now, based on that, I would like Mr. Ramadan and Dr. Thiankolu, what is the role of lawyers in practice and in academia in bringing up, in changing this narrative that we are not doing our best, that we are not producing the best? What is our role? Whether you're in practice, wherever you are as a lawyer, what is it you can do to improve the situation? Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Thiankolu, you have a majority of the... Oh, CLE is here. The hand is up. I can't deny CLE a chance to ask the question. So proceed.
Thank you, Mwalimu Ngoya. Mine is a very simple question. I have sat, I have listened. What do you think CLE should do? So that from these conversations, when I sit in my office, I want to be able to say from the conference, this is what was suggested that CLE must do to change the structure of things. Thank you.
So, Prof. Muimali's question will be answered by every panelist, 1 minute, but I will start Dr. Thiankolu. And as you take the podium, Dr. Thiankolu, I don't know whether Ken Ogutu is in the room. When he arrived back with those good papers from the West, I asked him to come and teach in the university, although we don't pay very well. And I told him, if you don't, because we don't pay very well, criminals will teach our learners and will not be at liberty to complain. Proceed.
The first question was, what have I done as an individual to address, especially internally? One of the things I've done is, of course, I've raised these issues at the faculty board, at the board of examiners, and the other official fora of the university. Unfortunately, Professor Amora, my concerns have always fallen on deaf ears or been met with a refrain that says the law school is only an appendage in a bigger body called the university, and that these structural issues can only be fixed from central administration. Unfortunately, I have no seat in the Senate. I have no seat in the University Council. So the places, in short, the places where I have the seat and the voice, including this forum, trust me, I have witnesses in the room who know I'm very vocal about these issues. I have, at the personal level, adopted a culture of perpetually improving myself, even as I point fingers at others. And of course, I mentor many students, usually from the University of Nairobi. Recently, I have one in the room from Catholic University. I see myself getting another one if Ongoya pushes from Kabarak. But the long and short is, I'm not the type that just pontificates and trying to do nothing about. Are we not forgetting where we've come from? It is easy to forget where we've come from. It is easy after practicing for 18 years and improving over 18 years to start now, looking at people who have not gone through that type of journey with a jaundiced eye. The truth is, we should remember where we've come from, but we should also remember where the world is and where the world is headed. The truth of the matter, I love speaking the truth, is that we are doing so badly. Whether we talk local studies, whether we talk regional studies, whether we talk global studies, that we should be mourning. And more importantly, asking ourselves, when the Holocaust happened, Ongoya, the Jews asked themselves, they said, never again. I hope CLE will, after this workshop, reflect upon some of these structural issues and say, never again. What has happened. We can't undo it. But never again. Never again. Of course, we have wanting lecturers. We cannot have good products if the people on the manufacturing line are themselves incompetent. So we have to address the question of what is the competence and what is the capacity of our lecturers. Speaking for myself, these are purely personal views. A good law school should have a well-balanced blend of both practitioners and career scholars. Unfortunately, in the typical Kenyan law school, it is run by the career scholars, and they have lots of contempt towards people, especially without a PhD. And the time has come for us to accept that one doesn't have to have a PhD to be a professor so-and-so, to be an effective law tutor. And if we agree on that principle, then having a PhD should not be the alpha and omega of promotions and your rank and the weight accorded to your views at the university faculty board, at the university senate, and indeed the other places. When I'm extreme, Ongoya, I usually say, if I had to choose between my son or daughter being taught law in a law school full of only career academics, or in a law school that has people who even have an LLB, forget even the LLM, but they are people of the stature of Feroz Nauroji. They are people of the stature of Elisha Ongoya. I would prefer they are taught by people who actually practice that craft, and they have practiced it at all levels. Perhaps I should mention the reason Germany is such a great country is that the education system is more about competencies than the number of papers you have accumulated. In China now, I saw this week they have introduced this system, Ongoya, where you can get a PhD not because you have written a thesis and researched and published, but because you invented a microphone like this that has revolutionized human life in some way. So I think the time for lecturers to be humble, especially the professors and the doctors so-and-so, I hope that's one of the issues you negotiate with Q. And to your question, one of the things you must do is to stop Q from overshadowing you. Because what the universities did, for instance, when you and Q were fighting, especially over these LLMs I was mentioning about, the Commission of University Education, of course, supported by the university chancellors and the lecturers who know they are launching that product to raise money. They don't give a damn about the quality. They said, this is purely academic. The CLE can regulate the LLB and the ATP and these other things for professional practice, PhDs and whatever. We now have people who write PhDs on Goya that are full of spelling errors. And I know people are thinking I'm over-glorifying. I'm a male for heaven's sake, and English is not our forte. But surely, I was asking my student, the student whose email I was reading, and you forgive me for this, Ongoya. This student came to me for a meeting, and I asked her, looking at you, you have taken a lot of effort to wear a dress that properly fits you and accentuates your body, your front, back offices, and other offices. Looking at you, you have worn perfect shoes that fit you so well. You have even moisturized your lips. You have shaved your eyebrows to ensure they accentuate your aesthetic appeal. And I asked, how is it that when it came to running spell checks on your thesis, that's why you drew the line? When it came to ensuring there is a known referencing style used in your...
Some assurance for... Thank you. Thank you so much. Next, I have Mr. Abubakar. Finally, I have Dr. Pamela. And Ms. Ann Konuche, I know we have done very badly with time, but because the person who messed up the time is Dr. Muthomi Thiankolu, he's the next moderator. He has an obligation to recover the lost time. So don't worry at all. Thank you so much, good people. I'll hand over the microphone back to Ms. Konuche to tell us the next course.
Thank you so much, Mwalimu, and thank you for the panel for the very good and bad words.